Bom, boa tarde a todos. Eu sou Laura Ward, eu estou aqui recebendo os nossos convidados da Duke University. Eu agradeço a presença de vocês. Eu tinha esquecido que essa é uma semana nômada, né? É uma semana que muitos estão de folga, mas em nome da Vice-Reitoria de Relações Internacionais, eu agradeço a presença de vocês. Nós estamos começando a 12h15 como proposto, porque essa apresentação está sendo filmada e enviada em tempo real para os campos de Limeira e de Piracicaba e vai ficar gravada no nosso site da VRERE. Então, para que quem não conseguiu se desvencilhar, né, dos seus afazeres, possa acessar mais tarde ou quando convier. Então, nós temos hoje dois membros da Duke University, Dr. Brad Fox, que está aqui do meu lado e que eu vou deixar ele mesmo se apresentar melhor. Ele é o reitor associado e o diretor executivo da Duke, e Mrs. Erin Degerman, que também está aqui do meu lado, que é responsável pelas admissões na Duke University. Então, eu vou deixar os dois conversarem com vocês, eles vão fazer uma breve apresentação e eu vou ficar aí embaixo para incentivar vocês no final da apresentação a fazerem perguntas, a fazerem comentários, a conversar com eles. Ok, Brad, Erin, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. These are your people. Take this.
Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. We're here to talk about the engineering programs, in fact, the graduate engineering programs within Duke University. This is a picture of West Campus of Duke University. So throughout the slideshow, you will see some various pictures of Duke University so you can get a sense of what our campus looks like. As was mentioned, my name is Brad Fox, and Erin Degerman is here as well, and we will talk about the graduate programs in the School of Engineering. But before I jumped into the engineering school, I wanted to talk a little bit about Duke University. So we are a medium-sized university. We have about 6,600 undergraduate students and about 7,200 graduate students. We have 10 different schools and 7 interdisciplinary institutes. So engineering is one of those schools, but we also have a school of law, a school of business. We have a graduate school, a school of medicine, and several others as well. Like most universities, we're focused on education, which is kind of the scholarly pursuit that I've been talking about. We're also very focused on research. We believe that it's very important for our faculty to be engaged in research so that they know the critical issues facing the world today. And so we are actually 5th in the United States in research funding. As I said, we put a strong emphasis on our faculty doing research. Within the engineering school, we actually have 7 major externally awarded centers representing research in a number of different areas. The third thing that we like to do at Duke is we believe that it's more about simply your classroom experience. You need to be engaged in various activities in the community, as well as having your academic experience be interdisciplinary. It's important for you to not only work in the engineering discipline, but to be exposed to and interact with individuals from other disciplines. And so as a result, there are a number of different activities on Duke's campus trying to promote those sort of interactions. One of them is Bass Connections, focused on topics like global health or energy, where undergraduates, graduate students, postdocs, faculty members work to address problems facing society, as I said, in things like health, global health, and energy. So let's talk in a little bit more about the engineering school. So the mission of the school is we want our students to lead productive, rewarding lives to better society. We have a purpose in making sure that our graduates go out and do good in the world. That's why we want them to be engaged, as I mentioned before, but it shows through in everything that we do. We also expect them to be leaders and innovators in the 21st century. There are a lot of challenges facing the world today that hopefully engineers can have a role in solving. And then finally, as I mentioned in our research, we want our research to be applicable to address today's societal issues as well. I'll turn it over to Erin. She'll talk about some of our degrees.
Okay, so at the graduate level at Duke University, we have 4 different degree types. The first 2, the PhD and the MS, Master of Science and Doctor of Philosophy, are both research-based degrees, and they are run by our graduate school at Duke University. And then the Master of Engineering, or MEng, and the Master of Engineering Management, MEM degree, are run by our office within the School of Engineering. And they are not research degrees, they are professional master's degrees that are industry focused. So whereas the PhD would be a direct route to academia, the MEng and MEM degrees are industry facing, and they vary in length. So the MEM can be completed in as short as 1 year. The MEng is 1.5 years. Master of Science is typically 2 years. And then a PhD, depending on your discipline, could range anywhere from 3, 5, 7 years, depending on how well the research goes. So 2 components of the MEM and MEng programs is that they both incorporate engineering and business. So the idea behind that is that to be successful in the world today, you really need, beyond your basic engineering skills, to be able to contribute to your position in your career. So we have a quote here by John Chambers, who's the CEO of Cisco. And he says, "The engineer of the future will need a larger collection of skills. They will need to know as much about politics, law, and business as they will about engineering." So the Duke program, the MEM and the MEng, gives a basic business fundamentals, including intellectual property law. And as a whole, they're wanting to prepare students to be able to contribute in a global environment. So what are some of the challenges that are facing students today as they enter in the workplace? One of them is the geographical differences. So someone's team may consist of people in India, Brazil, the United States, Europe. So you're managing all these different timelines and deadlines according to what your work is focused on. Overlapping with that is different communication and cultural challenges that come with working from people from different areas of the world with different backgrounds and understandings. And then lastly, the pace of innovation is also something that is driving the marketplace. So it is not one where you can wait and work on something for a very long time. You're expected to be able to turn decisions around very quickly and get your product to market. And if you happen to work in a smaller company, you will probably be expected to understand your competition, understand marketing, as well as your specific role within the company. This is all ideas borrowed from Alison Pierman, who is the VP of Public Affairs for AMD. And so those are what our programs are hoping to address in graduate education. So the solution, in part, to this challenge is to become a T-shaped individual. And what is meant by that is you have a large depth of technical expertise. For you, it would be engineering, where you fully understand and have a deep interest in what you've learned already, but you want to add to that understanding with a business breadth. So that would be management, finance, understanding how your expertise fits in with the rest of the company and how to really add value both in your specific roles and throughout your career. So it's something that is additive as long as you are working. Okay, I'll hand it back off to Dr.
So I wanted to provide just a brief overview about how we integrate engineering and business in the two programs that we have to offer. So the Master of Engineering degree has 2 core business courses. You'll take 8 courses in your discipline of interest, and you'll also do an internship that typically occurs over the summer. In the Master of Engineering Management program, that actually has 4 core business courses. There are 4 technical electives. You can choose to take those technical electives in a particular discipline, most likely your undergraduate engineering discipline, but you can also take courses that are offered through the engineering management program that are more focused on the implementation of technology rather than the design of technology. And I'll talk about some of the specific courses in a minute. That program also has an internship requirement, and it also has a seminar and workshop series that works to develop skills that industry has told us our graduates need, but don't necessarily fit into the normal academic course load. So an example of some of the workshops that we do are writing and presentation skills. Those are fairly common. We hear from almost all industries that engineers need to know how to write better. One of the interesting ones that I like that we have to offer is actually on improv. And improv is often used in comedy. I'm not sure if that is a familiar term here in Brazil, but the idea of improv is that someone will say an idea or a comment, and you're supposed to build on that idea instead of contradicting the idea or criticizing the idea. And that's very important because engineers are usually very good about thinking about problems that someone just proposed, the idea that someone just proposed. Why won't it work? And that is a great skill for engineers to have, but if you're wanting to be creative, if you're wanting to develop new technologies, you need to adopt the approach of, they refer to this as yes and. I'm going to build on the idea of someone else, and then ultimately you put together ideas from various people that no single individual would have developed by themselves. This is something that Cisco uses within their design group, and so it's something that we have adopted within our program to help our engineers think better about innovation. All right, so we wanted to kind of show this pictorially because sometimes it's not clear where these degrees fit relative to each other. And so the scale that you see here on the left is pure technical, and on the right is pure business. And so on the left-hand side are the MS and PhDs. They are pure technical degrees, very focused on research. And on the far right, you see an MBA, a Master's of Business Administration, which is very focused on just general business. The Master of Engineering Management program is about halfway between those two. It has a fair amount of business, but it also focuses very strongly on technology. And the Master of Engineering has a little bit of business, but not as much as the Master of Engineering Management. All right, so let's talk a little bit more specifically about the Master of Engineering degree. As I mentioned, you take 2 core business courses. There's a course in management and leadership, because to be successful in your career, you need to learn how to influence and work with others. And so the course talks about how you can influence others to adopt your ideas, and ultimately, as you get in positions of leadership, how you can lead and manage others. The second course that we offer is a course, Business Fundamentals. It provides an overview of business so that you understand customers and markets, you understand finance, and you get a little bit of exposure to intellectual property law as well. At Duke University, we have 7 different programs of study that you can choose. They are listed here. We have biomedical engineering, civil engineering, electrical and computer engineering, environmental engineering, material science and engineering, mechanical engineering, and photonics and optical systems. So those are the 7 programs of study that we have to offer. Probably the one program of study some of you may be interested in that we don't have is chemical engineering, that's just not found at Duke University. The Master of Engineering Management program, as I said before, it has 4 core business classes, and so we go into greater depth into the business concepts. There's a course in marketing taught by a faculty member from the Fuqua School of Business One of the great things about this program is it's in cooperation with our School of Business and our School of Law. We are using subject matter experts from these other schools within Duke to come teach these courses. We're not trying to have an engineer teach you what they understand about marketing. We're having marketing experts come in and teach you about marketing. We have a course in accounting and finance. That's how companies are evaluated. That's how they are valued. And so as a result, you need to very much understand financial terms of companies. There's the same course in management and leadership that I described before. And then finally, there's a course in intellectual property and business law. If you're going to be in a technology organization, it's very important that you understand how patents can be used to develop a sustainable competitive advantage. And so my background is I worked in GE before coming to Duke University, General Electric, I'm sorry. And I was promoted to be a manager of a design group. And in the first week of my role as a manager, I had to go into our senior council and tell them that we had lost international patent rights on our most promising new technology. GE is well renowned for its management leadership training, but they hadn't taught their managers about intellectual property. That's a somewhat unique thing that is very important in technological organizations. And so my background allowed me to understand the importance of intellectual property and to try to at least address the issues that had occurred due to my predecessor who didn't have an understanding of intellectual property. Within the Master of Engineering Management program, you can focus in a number of areas, or you can choose not to focus and just take a sequence of electives that make sense for your particular area of interest. There are kind of 6 focus areas that our students will often choose. Includes innovation and commercialization, construction management, data and decisions, entrepreneurship, financial engineering, and operations and supply chain management. So a lot of students at this point are trying to understand what's the difference between the Master of Engineering degree and the Master of Engineering Management degree. They sound very similar. They both have engineering and business, and so wanted to try and describe that in terms of roles that students in these programs typically go on to take within industry. So most industries are thinking about how can I be innovative. If you look at almost any annual report of a corporation and they want to talk about what are the innovations that they have brought to market in the past 3 years, in most cases a company's value is dependent on how much they are able to innovate and bring new ideas to market. And so as an engineer, your job in most companies will be to innovate. If you think about innovation, one common definition of innovation is that it's a combination of invention or generating a new idea and then implementation. Actually taking that idea, building a product, making a lot of them, and ultimately selling them to a customer. So you have the invention concept and then you have the implementation side. And so the Master of Engineering program is really focused more on those individuals interested in invention, right? That's why it has such a strong emphasis on your core engineering discipline, but does expose you to business so that you understand some of the challenges associated with invention so you can develop even better ideas that better meet the needs of customers. The Master of Engineering Management program is more focused on implementation. Okay? For those individuals that are interested in not necessarily designing the new product, but working with clients to understand their needs and getting that product to marketplace. So this particular slide just shows an example of what a student interested in biomedical engineering course of study they might take to prepare them to invent. There's often a graduate level math requirement in most of our programs, but in a number of courses having you to better understand at a graduate level particular disciplines, but also several classes related to design of new products. Within the Master of Engineering Management program, you can see some typical electives that students take. As I said, these are more focused on implementation, more so than in design. So you see courses like project management. You see courses like commercializing technology, managing product development, or even product management. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Erin to talk a little bit more about Duke.
University is located in Durham, North Carolina, so it's about halfway down the East Coast. We're 6 hours from Atlanta to the southwest and 4 hours south of Washington, D.C. So it is not a major city. It is not like New York or L.A. It's more of a smaller city, but there's many advantages within the area that Durham is located in. As far as topography, we're about 2 hours from the beach and 3 hours from the mountains. The climate is pretty mild, so pretty warm winters and fairly hot summers. The area that Duke is located in is often called the Triangle. So that's an area between 3 cities, which is Durham, which Duke is in, Raleigh, which is our state capital, and then Chapel Hill. And so one main feature of the Triangle area is each of these cities has a major institution in them. So in Chapel Hill, there's UNC Chapel Hill. In Raleigh, there's NC State University, and then Duke is in Durham. The total population of these 3 areas is a little bit under 2 million people. And it also houses Research Triangle Park, which is an area that has been zoned for research. So a lot of companies come in wanting to take advantage of the high number of students and graduate students in the area to help them with the research and innovation. And there's also medical centers associated with Duke and Chapel Hill. So there's a large number of doctors as well as PhDs combined in the area more than anywhere else in the world because of these 3 universities being in such close proximity. The international airport is about 20 minutes from Duke's campus, so it's very accessible to get a flight to travel for pleasure or to travel home. It is not far away, and Durham has consistently been ranked very high, one of the top 10 places to live within the U.S. Like I said before, it has great resources with the 3 cities nearby, lots of universities and people that are highly educated. It's also a very uncongested place, so traffic is not as big of a problem as it would be in other cities, and there's also a cultural and art scene as well. In Durham, we have the DPAC, the Durham Performing Arts Center, so a lot of bands and musicians come through there as well as Broadway plays. And we wanted to include this picture. This is a picture of Duke's West Campus, so it's not all of the campus, and certainly after a point, it becomes just the background. But Duke is often called the University in the Forest, so the layout has a lot of trees, as well as the Gothic architecture that you see for West Campus. And so it's not in a huge metropolitan area, but North Carolina itself is very lush and green, and we often get comments about, look at all the trees. So yes, we do have that. And then with our environmental program at Duke University, they do a lot of forestry research. So nearby, Duke actually owns a forest. So part of that belongs to Duke. Not all of it, certainly, by this breadth. Duke does not own, 20 miles of North Carolina. So our question to you is, can you see yourself at Duke? Some of the things we chose to highlight here is the startup challenge. So you see the students that are standing with a check. Our business school hosts every year a pretty large startup challenge where students pitch their ideas. There's a lot of cross-disciplinary teams, and Duke as a whole promotes entrepreneurship pretty heavily. Within the engineering school, we have Duke Hatch, which is a space located for helping students promote and understand how to build their own company and how to work out their entrepreneurship dreams. And then the other pictures on the far left, that's one of our buildings, the engineering school. And then on the far right top corner, that's some of our MN students. And the bottom left is some of our MEM students. And then that would be one of the workshops on the far right, students working together as well. And then that's an example of one of our classrooms. And you'll see as well in the Startup Challenge picture that there is a Blue Devil that is Duke's mascot. And then a lot of students are very involved with our men's basketball team, which has won our national championship several times. So a lot of our students enjoy going to games as well. So that concludes our formal presentation. We do have literature for you if you would like to pick up a brochure on either of the programs, and we would like to hear questions from you.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Brett. Meninos, sintam-se à vontade agora de fazer perguntas. Se vocês quiserem, eu passo o microfone e o pessoal pode me ajudar. Só gostaria que vocês se identificassem para eles saberem quem vocês são na hora de perguntar. Podem fazer comentários, críticas. Digam. They are inhibited. Quem quer ir para Duke? Quantos são da parte de economia e engenharia? So most of your audience should be interested in your talk. Nenhuma pergunta?
Hi, I'm Marcelo. I'm an undergrad of mechanical engineering. And how do I do apply? What do I need to apply?
I'll take that. So we have an online application. So you'll have to pay an application fee and fill out an application that'll prompt you to have a statement of purpose, a resume. You'll also need to get 3 letters of recommendation. And so that we would expect, since you're still in school, that at least one of them would come from a professor or somebody that you know from the university. But if you have internship or work experience, you could also get someone from there to recommend you as well. But as you are students, we would hope that you would at least have one professor that would be enthusiastic about recommending you for graduate school. We do require 2 standardized tests. We require the GRE, or the Graduate Record Exam, and also the TOEFL, which is the English testing exam. And then you have to upload a scan of your undergraduate transcript for us to make a decision on. We do have fall and spring admissions for both the MEM and the MEng programs. If you do decide that you are more interested in a MS or a PhD, that admissions process is separate from ours. So you would have to apply through Duke's graduate school. And the way Duke is set up, if you are interested in a PhD, you should apply directly for the PhD program. If you're interested in a Master of Science, you should apply directly to the Master of Science.
Do you have students from our program, the Science Without Borders program?
So I actually have met a Brazilian student that is an undergrad doing an exchange at Duke University, but I do not believe that our programs, the MEM and MEng, have had a Science Without Borders student.
Yeah, the Science Without Borders aims to send PhD students. Vocês sabem, né? Nosso programa de Ciências Sem Fronteiras não tem mestrado, mas tem as bolsas sanduíches, para quem quiser ir durante a graduação e para fazer doutorado sanduíche.
But I will say that we have a current student, Renato Morano, who came from Campinas, and so he has provided a little write-up about his experience that I can share with you, and I'm sure he would be open to questions from you. He's been going through our Master of Engineering Management program, so he could provide a little bit more of a student's perspective for you on that.
Hello, we are students from, I am Fernando, he is Rafael, and she's Bruna. We are students from high school at etapa, and we were interested in the applications of Duke. Could you speak more about it?
I can talk a little bit more about the undergraduate application process. So it is different than the graduate process that we just described. There are 2 application deadlines to apply to be an undergraduate. There's a November 1st deadline, which is early admission, and then there is I think it's a January 1st or 2nd. I believe it's the 2nd. It's one of the first days in January, which is our regular admission. There's a big difference between those 2 application deadlines. Early admission is a binding application. So if you apply to Duke in November and you are admitted, you are guaranteed to Duke that you will come and study at Duke University. And usually you're only allowed to apply to one school for early admission. So it does restrict the number of schools that you can apply as well. The January deadline is kind of an open admission. You can apply to as many schools as you like and then choose from the schools that admit you to decide which one you want to attend. So that's kind of the timing. From a documentation perspective, it's somewhat similar, although instead of the GRE exam, you're required to take the SAT or the ACT exam. I believe you are also encouraged or maybe even required to take SAT subject tests. I know it's certainly highly recommended. The official policy is that you are not required to take the TOEFL as an undergraduate. However, in talking to people in our undergraduate admissions, I think if there's any question at all about your capability in English language, that you ought to take the TOEFL exam to demonstrate conclusively your English language skills. They will require a transcript as well. I believe they only require 2 letters of recommendation instead of 3. They will require several essays, and I should mention that not only in our statement of purpose, but in Duke's undergraduate essays, they want to get to know you as an individual. We talked about engaged immersion as one of the philosophies at Duke, and so as they read your essays or your statement of purpose, the reviewers are trying to assess, is this an individual that will contribute to our campus community and campus life? Right? If you are only going to come to classes and study, take exams, and go home, that's not the sort of individual that Duke is looking for in the application process. So as you write your essays or your statement of purpose, you want to talk about how you engaged in your previous education, either high school or undergraduate, and then you may also talk about how you would intend to engage at Duke if you were admitted. So the essays are a very important component of the application process.
Good afternoon, my name is Alan. I'm not an engineering, I'm a biologist, but I'm interested in the Master Science programs. You and Duke offer any kind of Master Science programs to biologists, environment, food science, or other.
So I apologize, I do not have memorized all of our Master of Science programs. Actually, I'll let Erin start to answer this. I might have a sheet that can tell me if we have a Master of Science. One thing that I do want to point out is, as Erin mentioned before, there are kind of 2 different styles or approaches universities take for graduate research study. There are some universities, such as the one I did my graduate studies in, where you get a Master of Science and then you get a PhD. That is not Duke University. So Duke University, you would apply directly to the PhD if you're interested in a PhD. So I want to make sure we're clear on that. And as a result, there are some academic programs that we have that only offer a PhD and don't offer a Master of Science. So if you'll kind of answer the question related to the environment, I'll try and take a look to see if I can confirm that.
So Duke University does have a Nicholas School of the Environment. So they have a Master in Environmental Management that is fairly popular, and you can actually do a joint degree between their MEM and our MEMP. They were first, so we had to add the P to our official inter-Duke communication. It's a very good school. It's located also on West Campus in Duke University, so proximity-wise, it's very close to our offices and classrooms as well. I do know that there is computational biology. That's just kind of anecdotal because I know someone doing their PhD in that. But I would be surprised if they didn't have a biology program as well. If you do decide that you want the PhD level, we would recommend that you look at the department and look at what exactly those professors are researching and reach out to them and say, introduce yourself, kind of explain what you're interested in, why it is, what you've done before. That way, when you apply, they actually have some context for who you are. And so the MS and PhD decisions are very individual based, especially on the PhD level. So they are thinking, can they see you in their lab for the next 5 years type of situation. And then the Duke Graduate School website, they have an admissions page that lists all the different departments and if they offer masters or if they offer PhDs. And then we also have a contact that we can set you up with who might better be able to explain which department your interest would best fit. I know because of some interdisciplinary studies, what you might want to study might be more in the environmental school or it might be more in biology itself. So he might better be able to direct you about that.
I was not able to find the document I was looking for. If you come up afterwards, I'll give you my card. You send me an email and we'll resolve that. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Erin. I'm a mechatronic engineering student, and I just came from a double degree program, so it's not possible to do a normal exchange. And I'm looking for something like a job in winter or summer to offer something like this. For example, in a lab or some kind of project that I can do just during the vacation.
So students that are interested in working in a lab at Duke, that is possible. It's usually as a visiting scholar. The best way that those relationships get structured would often be through a faculty member here that would reach out and contact a faculty member at our university. And then there are some exchange programs. There aren't a lot of students that do that, but there is a possibility to be a visiting scholar to come in and work in a lab for a certain period of time. But again, it's a faculty-to-faculty relationship in most cases.
My name is Renato. I'm an economics student. I'm in my last year of my major, and I'd like to know if you have programs for MBA programs, I don't know, a School of Business, and something like that, or if the applying process is the same process for applying process to School of Engineering. I don't know.
Sure. So all of the schools at Duke usually have their own admission process. There are a lot of similarities, but there are some differences. So let me mention a couple of things at Duke. We do have a very strong Master of Science in Economics. So if you wanted to continue on specifically in economics, as I said, Duke has a very strong program there that you might want to consider. We also have a business school, Pupil School of Business. It has 2 degree offerings. It has a Master of Management Science, which is a 1 degree program. It is focused for pre-experienced individuals. So individuals that are coming right out of the university can apply to and enroll in the Master of Management Science program. The MBA program at the Pupil School of Business is an experience-based program. So you need a minimum of 3 years work experience. Typically, I think the average might be 5 or 6, but a minimum of 3 years work experience. From an application procedure, they have several rounds of applications. I don't remember the exact dates, but it tends to start in the fall and go through January, February, maybe even March timeframe. They are going to require the GMAT. It's a business school, so they require the GMAT instead of the GRE. I don't know the details, but I'm sure they require letters of recommendation and TOEFL and transcripts as well.
Mais alguma pergunta? So, Brad, Erin, where our students can find more information about Duke, if they need to contact someone someone, how can they do it?
So there are a couple of things. One is we should mention that the website is a good source of information, but if you want to talk to an individual, you can send an email to either myself or to Erin. Even if you're interested in something from the Fuqua School of Business, you can send it to us, and we will forward that on to the right contact in the university.
Just one last question.
Well, my name is João. First of all, I don't know how to speak English good, so I'm first apologizing for my English. I'd like to know how much does it cost to study at Duke University, and I'd like to know about a little bit, if you are able to talk about the medicine course.
Sure. So each school or program at Duke has its own tuition rate, and so you need to be aware that they may vary somewhat between the different programs. The engineering school, the tuition is right around $44,000 a year, and then from a living expense perspective, we estimate that it will cost you $16,000 to $18,000 in housing, food, books, transportation, those sorts of expenses. The School of Business is a little bit more expensive. I think it's over 50. I don't know exactly where it is, but I believe it's over 50. The Nicholas School of the Environment is actually lower than the engineering school. So, but that gives you a little bit of a range. As far as medicine goes, in the United States, medicine is a graduate program, so you would need an undergraduate degree. It is a four-year program at Duke University with a very strong emphasis on research. The third year is a research experience. A lot of students will choose to work in a laboratory of some of the faculty members throughout the university. I'm sure they require MCATs in the standard sort of medical school application materials, but I don't know as much about their application process. Duke University is a top 5 medical school, so it is very well regarded. And the other interesting thing about Duke, I mentioned we had biomedical engineering. That is one of the things that's Duke's strength. We were the first accredited biomedical engineering program in the country, and there is a close relationship between our medical school and our engineering school.
Well, very well. If someone needs to ask some more questions, I'll ask you to do it personally. Vamos agradecer o Brad e a Erin pela apresentação. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
And thank you all for coming. Muito obrigada a todos vocês por terem vindo.